So now all I have to do is show people how to use the health app. So yeah, you mentioned that I am the text expander evangelist. So if at some point you would like me to talk about text expander, please let me know, because I am happy to do that anytime. And if you'd like, we can give away a couple text expander t-shirts today too, since I like giving things away.
Oh, that sounds great. Everybody
Okay.
everybody wants a t-shirt.
So
Okay.
you figure out how people will or how to pick a couple people, 2 or 3 people, and then I'll make sure that they get t-shirts.
Okay.
So all right. So we're talking about the health app today, and the health app includes Health Kit. So we'll be talking about both, and I'll start with a quick explanation about Health Kit, just in case there's people that don't know what that is or understand what that is. Health Kit is a platform that devices and services can connect through, so that you can have a common place to find health and fitness information about yourself. So so that can be things like you have an iPhone and an Apple Watch, and they can be tracking health and fitness data, and you can see that information in one place. Or you can have third-party applications like Pedometer Plus, that's tracking your footsteps, and that can feed in as well. Or maybe you have a sleep tracker or a heart rate monitor, and you can take all of that information and hook it together thanks to Health Kit. So once you have that foundation of Health Kit, now you need a way to be able to see all this information, and that's where the health app comes in. So with that foundation to work from, let's take a look at the health app, which means I need to start sharing my iPhone screen. Okay. So it'll take a second for everything to catch up. And there we go. You should see my iPhone screen if all goes well.
All goes well.
Awesome. Okay. So the health app, let's just go ahead and grab that. Whoops. Yep, there we go. Health app. Okay. So here's the health app. And the health app has all kinds of information that you can see based on what you're tracking. So we'll start with the today view, just so you can see some of the things that are available. But we're going to work through all of the different parts of the health app. And if people have questions, feel free to ask, because I want to make sure that we have everyone's questions answered. So when we're looking at the today view, this gives us a nice overview of your current health and fitness state. So you can see that as of right now, I only have 848 steps. Well, it turns out I forgot to put my Apple Watch on first thing this morning, so my step count is a little bit low. But I was zipping around, taking care of a bunch of things, and so my heart rate was a little bit higher, so 72 beats per minute, and I didn't get as much sleep as I would like, because that's only 6.5 hours, and I'm a 9-hour a night kind of guy, so that's not good. But that said, we can see that I already have 2 of my standing hours based on my Apple Watch. I can see what my calorie burn is, and there we go. And we can look at my heart rate and what my walking heart rate average is, and I see my heart rate average is 86 beats per minute. That tells me I'm not pushing myself like I should when I'm out walking around, because I want to see that heart rate higher when I'm doing those things. Okay, so when we look at these things, where is this coming from? Well, for your steps, if you have an iPhone, your iPhone can track your steps for you. If you have an Apple Watch, your Apple Watch can track your steps for you as well. Or there are some other apps or devices that you can get that are HealthKit compatible, so that you can get your steps into HealthKit. Fitbit has not been one of those, unfortunately. So I haven't checked to see if the new models that just came out from Fitbit do support HealthKit, but Fitbit has been historically against letting HealthKit have access to any of the tracking data that they offer. So that's unfortunate. Hey, check it out! I got my heart rate to go up a little bit. So there you go. You can see when I'm presenting, my heart rate goes up. Okay, let's take a look at some of the information that we can see beyond just these numbers. So if I tap on health rate, okay, now I have more information available to me. So I can see my heart rate range for today, which is range between 64 beats per minute and 93 beats per minute. Once I've had time to go out and actually walk around or maybe jog, do some bike riding, that high end is going to go up. Since I have Apple Watch Series 4, I can track my ECG or electrocardiogram data, because that will feed in here as well. And if I keep scrolling down, I can even see apps that are available that will feed into HealthKit, and so I can see the data in the Health app, and I can see that I even have a couple installed as well. So if you look at the cardiogram orange icon, and then if you look at the heart watch black icon, underneath those in light gray letters, I don't know if that's showing up on your projector, you can see it says installed. And if I had a device for checking my blood pressure, I would have that data here as well, but I don't, so there's no data there. Okay, I can look at my heart data for the year, and there we go. So you can see that my high point for my heart rate, I did get up to 172 beats per minute at one point. And that was in February. So I was probably out in the backcountry snowshoeing. And if I look at this for the current month, I can see all kinds of data just for the month. I can look at for the week. And if you look at yesterday and today, you see how those bars are so short compared to the others? That's because I have been sitting at my desk basically since yesterday morning. It's been a busy day, and I have a feeling the rest of the week is going to be very busy too. So sadly, I'm probably going to have more of these short bars, which I don't like to see. So that tells me I need to make a point to go out and do some more work. Okay, now if we look below at this heart rate box where I can see what the average heart rate is, this changes to match whatever view I'm in. So that's funny. I just clicked on the button on my shared screen as opposed to tapping on my iPhone. Let's try that again. We're actually tap on my iPhone. There we go. Um, for the day view, you can see that I'm at between 64 and 93. For the week view, you can see it changes to match there. And for my yearly view for 2019, you can see it just matches across the board. So let's go back to the month view, because I like looking at data like this in a bigger picture. And if we look at that heart rate box where it says 46 to 162, there's a little info icon in the upper right corner. And so if I tap that, that's going to bring me to a place where I'll see a little bit more information, including add to favorites. Now, for the things that I want to make sure that I'm seeing in my today view, I want to turn on add to favorites. So any piece of data that I'm monitoring all the time can appear in the today view. I can customize it to show just what I want. Then I can also see all of my data. And so I can scroll through and look at like any specific day. So let's just pick a day, September 3rd. And now I can see every single data point that was collected and what time it was collected. And if I tap on one of these, like here's one that I can get even more data. So I can see the exact time to the second when the reading was made. I can see what device collected that data for me and exactly what time it was transferred from my watch back to the health app on my iPhone. So I can see in this case, there is almost a 2-minute gap from when the reading was taken to when it was actually showing in the health app. And in most cases, that isn't going to matter, but in some cases, it may. So now you know that that is there. Okay, so I can even get device information and operating system information about the device that took that heart rate reading for me. So I tapped back to come back to the list. If I tap edit, I can choose to delete anything off that list. So any piece of data that was collected, I can get rid of. And why would I want to do that? Well, maybe I was doing, doing some experiments and intentionally trying to screw up the data. I can go and take those test data points back out. Or like the other day, I had a friend who was concerned about their own heart rate. So I put my Apple Watch on their wrist and let them do an ECG test. And their data was different from mine. And I didn't want to have that in with my own data because it would screw up my overall results. So once we were done checking their heart rate with my watch, I went and took their data points back out. So I suppose if you're sharing your device with someone and they're doing something that impacts what you're tracking for yourself, you might want to go in and take that back out. Okay, so let's take a quick look at data sources and access. And this is where I can see which apps are allowed to actually interact with the HealthKit app. So I have pedometer. It's actually pedometer plus. That's what I'm using to track my step count. And the reason I'm using that is because it includes a I hate when I forget a word, complication for the Apple Watch. And that complication allows me to see the actual step count on my watch face, which is something that I really like. as opposed to just seeing the the rings, the red, green, and blue rings as you're completing your your activity throughout the day. So from here, I can turn off access to any specific application that's that's collecting or reading my heart data. So if I were to turn off, say, messages, because why would messages want that? Actually, that's a really good question. If you're using the feature in messages where you can send someone your heartbeat, where you get the animation boom, 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 boom for your heart, messages needs to have access to your heart rate data. So I'll turn that back on. You can control which applications have access to the individual parts of your health data. So I can turn off access to heart rate, for example, but leave access to another part of the health data. So I can what I'm saying is I can control exactly which application can access which piece of data from my whole health kit database, which I think is nice because I might want to let one app access one part of my health kit data, but not another part. So granular control, I think, is a good thing. Okay, so let's back out of here and let's take a look at my sleep analysis. So I'll tap on that, and I am using a sleep tracking device that's actually pretty accurate. So let's take a quick look and see what I have tucked away in here. Oh, there we go. Sleep Score Max. This is a device that sits beside my bed, and it's actually using sound waves to track my sleep activity. And it's stunningly accurate. It's just absolutely amazing. So if I tap on that, I can see exactly what sort of data it's been collecting. And so it'll tell me how much time did I spend in bed and how much of that time was I actually asleep. So I can look at that individual data for each day right here. But let's take a quick look at what I'm actually seeing here. So I can see my sleep activity for the day as a graph. And there we go. For the week, and I can see Sunday was the day that I actually got more sleep. Go me. And here we go. This is for the month so far. So just like looking at the information for my heart rate, I can look at my sleep information as well. For me, this is actually really important because I have pretty severe sleep apnea. So I sleep with an APAP machine, and I wish I could have my data from the APAP machine fed into HealthKit as well, but that's not an option. But still, being able to look at my sleep patterns is really nice. Okay, so we've done a quick rundown of what we have in our today view. Let's take a look at our health data view. Okay, so from here, let's start with activity. And if I tap on activity, I can see some of that same information that I saw on the today view, but I will get additional information. So I can see, in addition to my steps and my calorie burn activity, I can see the distance I've walked so far today, which sadly, I haven't even gone half a mile yet today. And I can see that I only have 4 minutes of exercise time today. And wow, when I look at my workouts for the month, here we are on what is today, the 18th, and I only have 25 minutes of workouts. Well, it turns out that I have a problem with remembering to start workouts. So I look at this, and it looks like I've not done hardly anything that's active this month, and wow, that's kind of sad. I need to remember to turn on my workouts more regularly, and I can also see my my oxygen, my VO2 level. This is interesting because the VO2 level, this is something that is is being tracked, but it's only an estimate. So if you're expecting to see something here that your doctor can actually use, probably not, because there are no sensors in my Apple Watch that will collect that actual data. So this is just being extrapolated from everything else I'm doing. Also, excuse me, it only works with a couple types of workouts. So I believe it works with walking and it works with jogging or running, but it does not work with anything else. So if you're say bicycling or doing a rowing machine, uh, uh, something like that, you're not going to get any information added to to this. So what it means for me is I basically don't have much data. And as I'm scrolling back through, yeah, look at that. So I have a reading from February 17th, 2018, and then it jumps to March, and then there's a couple in April, and then some in May. So I have this data from 2018, and then the next time I actually have something that shows up um, is September 29th, which hasn't even happened yet. Oh, maybe that's even older. Oh, no, it's still just 2018 data. And finally, March 2019. So this is something that I don't pay that much attention to because I can't actually get good data off of it. Okay, so let's look at sleep. And this is actually, for me, there's not that much here. Interesting. Okay, well, if I had other sleep tools that I was using, I would see more information there. Um, so for me, I'm not actually seeing anything beyond what I'm showing on the Today screen. Let's take a quick look at nutrition. If you are tracking what you're eating, this is really handy because uh, because you can use different apps and track your diet, and then it's going to break down what you're getting for all the various uh, elements that it's listing here. For me, since I don't track when I'm eating, I have a big graph of nothing. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the other options that are down below here. Let's take a quick look at heart. This shows us all the information that I was showing you already. And we'll take a quick look at reproductive health. This is something that I'm really glad that Apple added in, and because for so long, the health app was it was male focused, and when they started the whole reproductive health section, then it became something that addressed women as well, and this will get even better when well, tomorrow, when iOS 13 is released, because iOS 13 will have additional features for reproductive health and women's health, and so that's just something to be aware of. Okay, let's take a look at results. If I have other devices that I'm using that can feed data in, like let's say I have a blood glucose monitor, all of that sort of data is going to show up here. Um, If I had an oxygen saturation testing device that hooks into HealthKit, I could have that right here too. I think that would be kind of cool to have. Maybe I should go do an Amazon search and find something. And and then UV index. Sadly, I don't have anything that's tracking that, but I should, because I live in Colorado, and with a higher altitude, the UV index is a pretty important thing to stay on top of. So all of those other devices that would be collecting that sort of information, that would go into here. And then vitals, this is just the basic vitals that your doctor would be collecting on you when you go in for a checkup. And speaking of doctors, we have health records. There are many healthcare providers that support HealthKit. And what that means is that you can link into your medical records from your doctor and see all that information in a unified interface. So Kaiser Permanente is one of the healthcare providers that's part of the program. So I've been able to add that. If you want to add another account, all you have to do is tap Add Account, and you will get a list of healthcare providers that support the HealthKit platform. So let's do a quick look and see if University of Colorado has been added. Oops. It would help if I start spelling it right. University of nope, it's not there. That's unfortunate because University of Colorado Health Services is the single largest database of health records in Colorado. So it would have been cool to add in. But what I can do is look at all the information that my healthcare provider is putting into their database. So for example, I can tap allergies and okay, there we go. We can see that I have a dairy allergy, but no drug allergies. So there we go. And we can see even which doctor added that to my records. And then we have my immunizations. So, well, that's interesting. Oh, no, that's actually normal. I thought I'm missing quite a few of my flu vaccination records, but it just occurred to me 2003 was the last year I used Kaiser until 2018. So that totally makes sense. Nice being able to see all of my lab results. So if I go in for, say, blood work of some kind, when I when I get home, if the lab results have already been finished, I will see those before my doctor even sends me an email saying, hey, we got the lab work back. So it's nice because that means I am typically seeing information before the doctor can even tell me about it. So so that it's nice being able to have all of that information in one place like that. Okay, so let's hop over and take a quick look at sources. This is where I have master control over all of the apps that are accessing HealthKit so they can either read information or put information in. So I can see that I have Pokemon Go. Well, isn't that interesting? The reason that's there, and yes, this is a game, is because Pokemon Go, one of the things that they're trying to do with the game is get people to be more active. So with HealthKit access, Pokemon Go can be checking to see how active you are, but then also writing information back to HealthKit about the activity that you're doing. So you can actually get workout credit for going outside and hunting down Pokemon, which I'm sure everyone is doing all the time, right? And uh, I can go in and control exactly which parts of HealthKit data the app can access. So this is nice because I showed you where you can go into a specific area, like the the heart activity area, and turn on or off an app's access to HealthKit for that specific part. From here, I have a single place where I can do it for all the different parts of HealthKit. So you can see that I have pushes turned off because I'm not even sure what that does. And wheelchair distance I have turned off because I don't use a wheelchair. So to me, it doesn't make sense for an app to have access to that. And then if we tap back, okay, here we go. Let's look at Pedometer Plus because that's something that I am using all the time. I'm letting Pedometer Plus have access to everything in HealthKit that it can have because I want to make sure that I'm not missing out on any piece of information that needs to be shared between the health app and Pedometer Plus. Okay, and so now here we can see all the devices that have permission to work with HealthKit. And here's a problem. Look at all those Apple Watches. I don't have that many Apple Watches. In fact, I only have one. But you can see how many Apple Watches I have had. Or more accurately, you can see how many Apple Watches I've had that I have also had to do a factory reset on at least once. Because every time I would do a factory reset on my Apple Watch, excuse me, it will show up as a new device in this list. And I can see only one of these should be paired, but which one is it? Yeah, see, that's a problem. This interface doesn't show me which Apple Watch I'm currently using, and if I delete an Apple Watch out of here, I will lose the information that went along with it. So I actually have to leave all these Apple Watches on the list. And these devices where it says iPhone, Jeffrey's iPhone 10, those are actually all three the same phone because this iPhone I've had to reset a couple times. And so I have multiple devices showing up for that. And I think I just found the right iPhone. Well, that was luck. I tapped on the correct iPhone there. Anyhow, this device list needs a lot of work. And unfortunately, I haven't seen that work happen for iOS 13. So just be prepared when you see a long list of devices. It's not something you have done. It's an interface issue on Apple's part. Okay, so we've zipped through these tabs pretty quickly. We have not looked at medical ID, but we need to. And medical ID is important because this is where you can have all kinds of information about yourself that medical service providers will need. So let's say you're in a car wreck, which hopefully no one is, but the EMTs show up on scene and they need to check out some information about you, and for whatever reason you're not able to help them out. Maybe you're just too scared, and so you're kind of in shock. Well, they can look at the medical ID information that you've put into your phone. It will show up as an option on your lock screen, but that's only if you've put information in here. And this is also important because you need to have an emergency contact in there. And that will also link up to any other service you have that will send out emergency alerts. So for example, if you're using fall detection on your Apple Watch and you fall and you don't respond to the notification on your Apple Watch screen to say, yeah, I'm actually okay, your Apple Watch will then send out a 911 call so that emergency services know you fell and need help. And it will also include your location, but then it also sends a message to your emergency contact. So you need to set up your medical ID so that if someone needs to help you, they have some information that they can use to do that. So to do that, if you haven't done it, when you go into the health app and you tap medical ID, it will give you a form that you fill out, and then you're good to go. And if something changes, there's an edit button. So for example, if I suddenly put on a lot of weight or lost a lot of weight, I could change my weight in here. So that is a fast overview of the features. And let's take a look at some other things, unless people have questions before I move on.
Yes.
Regarding the cardiogram, what is the input to the question and how is it displayed or interpreted?
I could not hear the question.
As far as cardiogram, what was the,
What is the input device and how is it interpreted?
what is the input device and how is it interpreted?
Okay. So the echocardiogram, I'm getting that data from my Apple Watch. Apple Watch Series 4 includes that, and Apple Watch Series 5, which is available on Friday, will include that as well. So the way that works with my Apple Watch, I'll hold that up because I can't actually share the Apple Watch screen.
Hold on one second. We had somebody else that wanted to chirp in.
Yeah, that's a misnomer. That is not an electrocardiogram. That's a rhythm strip. It just tells your heartbeat and the rhythm.
Did you hear that?
There are two things that you can test with apps on your Apple Watch. One is your heartbeat, and then the other one is actually an echocardiogram. And the information that you and I can see from that is not as much as what your doctor can see. So if I share an echocardiogram test that or a reading from my Apple Watch with my doctor's actually getting more information than I am. So I find that interesting that there's a lot of data that's being collected, but only a small amount of it is being exposed to us as the end user, even though we're the person that's collecting it.
Jeff, the gentleman that was just speaking happens to be one of those doctors, and
Okay.
And he's, I guess, some information that he might have is different.
Well, electrocardiogram looks at the heart from many different directions. The
Yes.
Apple Watch takes its input from the two little things on the back of the watch. And so it is only giving us a rhythm. It will tell you if you've got atrial fibrillation, which is a very rapid rhythm, and that's where it's really going to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as it being interpreting an EKG that's going to tell you if you're having a heart attack or if you got left ventricular strain or any of the other things, it cannot do that.
Yes, I agree with you completely. That is absolutely correct. And I'm sure it's a great relief to know that someone who's not a doctor actually approves of your statement as if I have any level of medical qualification at all. Um, so, uh, so my friend who is a doctor was telling me that there is additional information that shows up in the information that they get from that test. And but she also told me exactly what you did, which is that this is not something that is an all-encompassing test. And as a matter of fact, when you when you use the feature on your Apple Watch, it will tell you this is not a device or not a test that's going to tell you if you've had a heart attack. That's not what this is for. That said, the doctor that I spoke with, and from what I've read from other reports, is that for the information it provides, that information is surprisingly accurate, which I find to be really interesting. That Apple was able to figure out how to use the sensors on the back of the watch, coupled with a sensor that they put into this digital crown, to be able to get information that's actually useful. So hold on, let me wake my iPhone back up. There we go. And let's take a look at, let's scroll back down to my, how funny. Why am I suddenly not seeing what I expected to see on this screen? Heart data. Oh, there we go. Echocardiogram. So,
Jeff,
yes.
you keep confusing two terms. An echocardiogram, that's where you go to the hospital and someone puts an ultrasound on your heart. That's ECHO.
Have I been saying echo?
Yeah, the term you want to use is electrocardiogram,
Yes.
or as the other physician said, a rhythm strip.
Yes, and I am sorry because I didn't even realize I had been saying echocardiogram. Yes, electrocardiogram. I am sorry that I was misspeaking. So when we look at my electrocardiogram data, we can open one of these up, and I can see what my beats per minute were, plus I get my little notification that says ECG does not show signs of atrial fibrillation. So when I look at this, my takeaway is I don't have to call 911 right now. And my doctor may look at this, and if I choose the export a PDF to my doctor option, and my doctor may look at this and say something else, but I can go in and look at the information that's been collected. And when I tapped info, this even tells me a little bit more about exactly what the test is doing. I can't believe I was saying echocardiogram. Electrocardiogram. Okay. So
we just have another question.
yes.
Not on this, another thing.
Okay,
So,
Jim.
I have been in a couple of situations where I was doing a rehearsal for a play and I got some false fall detection notices from my watch. Is it simply a case of turning off the toggle on the watch to prevent that from happening?
So just to make sure I heard correctly, you were in a situation, in this case you were rehearsing for a play, where you got some false fall detection happening?
Right.
Yeah, so if that's happening, the solution to that is you turn off fall detection, and I can see where in some plays, especially if you're like really active, where you could get some false readings off of that.
Yes, it was a musical.
Oh yeah, of course, because there are no such things as passive musicals.
Right.
Yeah. So what I would say is, if that's a problem for you during the play or the musical, turn off fall detection, and then when you know you're out of that situation where you're going to get false readings, turn it back on. Assuming fall detection is something you want. By default, fall detection is off unless you are over 65, and then it will be on by default. So,
That includes, that includes probably everybody in the room.
okay, so for everyone in the room, when you set up your Apple Watch, unless you lie about your age, fall detection will be on automatically for you.
I got it smashing garlic. I had to take my watch off to finish the job.
She said you were doing what with garlic?
I was smashing garlic.
Oh yeah, she was.
Oh, sure. Yeah, for me, when I'm making popcorn, my Apple Watch thinks that I am on on an elliptical machine, and it wants to log that as workout time.
Jim,
It happened again last Saturday night. I was doing an improv show, and I intentionally laid down on the floor. Not the brightest thing to do, but I didn't know that I had been detected by my watch as a fall, and it actually placed the call. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So it actually placed the call, and I caught it right at the table at the tail end, and I stopped the call, and a few moments later, I got a call back.
That doesn't surprise me.
How much trouble would I be in?
Probably not any trouble. From friends of mine who have had false readings for fall detection, where they didn't realize it, and the call was actually placed. When they got a call back from the police or fire dispatchers, they actually asked, "Are you wearing an Apple Watch? And did you even know that you had a fall detection?" And my friends were like, "Wait, what? I'm not going to go to jail for this, am I?" And they're like, nope. We're used to this. So apparently there are a lot of calls that are going into emergency services for fall detection that's not accurate. So I doubt you would have been in trouble.
did you want to ask your question?
I'm a novice, and I was just wondering on that sleep score max, as opposed to the sleep thing on the iPhone, why don't you use the one on the iPhone as opposed to the sleep score max? And how do you do that? How do you charge up your phone and still get the sleep score max? I mean, charge up your watch, sorry.
Did you happen to get the question?
I got enough to know that it's a question about when you can use your iPhone versus your Apple Watch to collect some data. Am I close?
It was on the sleep score, like you use sleep score max, and you didn't have any information on the one that's here, that's on the phone that says sleep. And I also wanted to know why you use the sleep score max instead. And also, how do you get the information for the sleep score max if you're charging up your phone at night? I mean, you're
Okay. I've got it now. And so to paraphrase, just to make sure I've got this right, why am I using the app and device that I'm using for sleep tracking versus using something on my Apple Watch specifically.
Right?
And how is that data getting to where it needs to go? And it sounds like a side question is why am I not using the sleep option that's on the iPhone? And then of course add into that, when can I possibly charge my devices if I'm having to do all this tracking at night? Does that sound like a good way to dive into this one?
Yes.
Okay, so let's hop back over and take a look at my my sleep. So what I'm using is Sleep Score Max, and this is this is a third-party software and hardware combination. So I actually have a device sitting beside my bed, aimed at my torso, and so it's collecting data, and then through Bluetooth, it sends that information back to my phone. So I'll show you that real quick. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay, so here we go. We are looking at this week's data. And so if I tap on a day, I can see how much time I got sleeping first as a like a score. So we can see it took me longer to fall asleep on that night than I would have liked, and I didn't get as much light sleep as I should. I got almost as much deep sleep as I should, but I was low on my REM sleep, but I was okay on how much time I was actually awake throughout the night. And then I can look at a hypnogram, which breaks this down by hour for me. So that pink, that's where you can see where I was having a hard time falling asleep that night. And so I've got my mix of blue, green, and red, or yellow, for deep sleep, light sleep, and REM sleep. And you can see as we got closer to time for me to wake up, I started waking up more frequently. So I've got all of this data that this is storing for me. So I can scroll back multiple weeks and look at all of this sleep data. Here's a night that was really good. So you can see that I had a good mix of deep sleep, light sleep, and REM sleep that night. Okay, so since I am using this application and hardware combo, I can have my phone charging and my Apple Watch charging all night long because they're not actually having to do anything to track all of this. Now, if I use the sleep feature that's on the iPhone, here we go. So what I did was I just went into the clock app on my iPhone, and there's an option at the bottom here that says bedtime. And when I tap bedtime, I'm now at a place where I can turn on the feature and set when I want to go to bed and when I want to wake up. So let's say that I want to go to bed at 9:30 at night, and I can see how much sleep time that actually gives me. But we've already established I'm a 9-hour-a-night guy. So let's move this up to where it says 9 hours. Okay, so now I've set a wake-up time, so it looks like I would go to bed at 9:30 and get up at 6:30. And what will happen is now when whoops, there we go. When it's getting close to my bedtime that I've set here, I will now start getting alerts on my phone and my Apple Watch. Hey, it's time for you to go to bed. And then it will wake me up when when I've set here. So I'll get an alert, hey, go to bed at 9:30. And then at 6:30 in the morning, my iPhone's going to wake me up. And so data from this will also feed back into my sleep patterns, because if I tell my phone, I'm not going to bed, then that data will impact my my information that I'm seeing in the health app. So this is not something that's actually going to track my sleep activity beyond when I'm trying to go to bed and when I'm actually getting up. So if I wanted to do something, say with one of the sleep tracker apps that you can put on your Apple Watch, what I would have to do is pick a time during the day when I went to charge my watch so that it will have a charge to make it through the night. And basically what it comes down to is you'll have to decide when it is during the day that you're okay not using your watch to do any sort of fitness tracking. If it's something where you just need to make sure that you're tracking your step count, well, your phone will do that. You just have to keep it on you so that it can be tracking that while your watch is charging. And the nice thing is the system is designed so that if you're doing part of the tracking from your phone and then part of it from your watch, it will figure out which device has the information, and if there's an overlap, it won't double up the information. It will figure out which device to take that from. So you'll get the data that you're expecting without anything extra thrown in. How did I do at hitting all the parts of that question?
Okay. Except that, I see what you're saying about the clock, but but they have a sleep app on the phone, and I assume on the watch because I don't have a watch. But the information, like when you had that bad night, does that bad night go on if you didn't have the sleep score max? Will that do it on the phone or the watch?
I couldn't quite hear the question.
You did this on the clock app.
Oh, yes, this is on the clock app. Yep.
Then when you are actually going to sleep and you're using the sleep app that's on your phone or watch, it does all the things that the Sleep Score Max does on your phone or your watch. Is that correct?
So for what we're doing in the clock app here, this will not do what the Sleep Score Max does. If I want to have more detailed sleep data that I'm collecting, where I'm using either my phone or my watch, then I do need to put a third-party application on my phone to track that sleeping data. So let's take a quick look at what some of those options are.
I'm talking about what's on the phone or the watch. It has it in that square. It has on the health thing, one of the boxes says sleep.
Yes, and that, okay. I think I'm with you now. So the sleep tab in the health app, that's not going to do any tracking for you. That's going to show you the information that other applications or devices are tracking and then feeding in. So you would need to have another application, like, let's see, what's one of the good ones to use? Sleep Cycle. This is a good sleep tracker app that you can put on your iPhone, and I believe it has a Apple Watch component to go with it. And so what this one will do is let you set when you're going to bed and then when you want to wake up. And what it will do is intelligently figure out how active or how close to awake you are when you want to get up. So it wakes you up at the right place in your sleep cycle, so that if you're deep asleep, it's not going to wake you up. And no, I'm saying that wrong. What it does is it looks at your sleep pattern and where you are in your overall sleep cycle as you approach the time you want to get up. So it will see when you're in a light sleep phase that's close to when you want to get up, and then set off the alarm. So you'll wake up and not have that groggy thing that happens when, say, you're dreaming and your alarm goes off and now you have to wake up. So you have a higher likelihood of waking up refreshed. And but if you hit that point where, say, you want to get up at 6:30 in the morning, if you haven't already had a light level that's right before that, it will go ahead and wake you up. But this will feed that information back to the health app through HealthKit, so that the sleep tab in the health app will show you information.
Jeff, I want to see if there's any other questions on anything else. Make sure that we got anybody else covered also.
Jeff, I'm curious if you use the same SIM card on your different phones. And the reason I ask, I wasn't aware that my data is broken like yours is. I have 3 watches and 3 iPhones in my data. Wasn't aware of that. And I've not done what you've done. But I did swap out a SIM card for 2 months when I was overseas. And the dates match up with a SIM card. Is there any way to consolidate your data?
Well, it's no. The answer to your question, can I consolidate the data from the different devices? Which you're talking about, the answer is no. So that you see just a device with all the data? No. But when you're looking at the data through this interface, it is all consolidated. So while you have that messy place where you'll see all the extra devices, when you don't look at it there, because it'll get frustrating. Look at it here where it is consolidated. And as far as the SIM card goes, for me, every time I get a new iPhone, I end up with a new SIM card, which to me is just crazy, because part of the reason of SIM cards was that we wouldn't have to swap them out every time. But there you go. And so I've had the problem with a device showing up as a different device when I switch a phone, because now it is a different device, but also when I reset, even if I'm still using the same SIM card. So it doesn't surprise me that swapping out the SIM card broke part of that data chain for you. And since a reset will do it as well, even with the same SIM card, this is clearly something that Apple needs to work on.
Any other questions?
Don?
Don?
What does he mean by a reset? You mean pushing 2 buttons or?
By reset, I mean when I do a factory reset on my phone. So I'm resetting it, wiping all the information, and starting over as if I just took the phone out of the box for the first time. And considering testing that I've done on my phone over time, having to actually do that every now and then, it's a thing for me.
I'd like to make a comment on Luke's question regarding SIM cards. I don't believe that the change of a SIM card has any impact on the data collection of your phone. I exchange SIM cards frequently, and it has no impact whatsoever. But what I do now I have an iPhone that allows the use of eSIM cards, as many as I like, plus a nano SIM card. And I'm doing that when I travel to Europe, so there's no interruption of my data that I collect on my sleep, on my health issues, and so forth. So on my iPhone now, there is no disruption whatsoever, although I do exchange SIM cards. I went to Europe, I went to Turkey on my last trip on my visit. I just returned, and I used different SIM cards, and everything works just fine. Just for your information. Thank you.
Okay, so I totally get what you're saying, and I agree with you. And let me clarify what I meant, because I was clearly not as precise as I could have been. What I meant when that data chain breaks is that not that you're actually losing information, just that you may have a situation where if you go and look at your devices, you now have two devices as opposed to one showing up as where data had been collected. And I don't think that necessarily happens, or it doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen. And so swapping your SIM card out and all of your data is still showing up, that's no surprise to me at all, because that's exactly what happens. And when I look at all the data that I have, it's all there. The problem for me, which is just a minor technical complaint, is that when I go and look at my devices, I will now see multiple devices that have been feeding information to my phone or to HealthKit, and yet it's the same device. So there's an issue on Apple's end for the way devices appear in that list, but it's not an issue for how much data we're getting. So we're not actually losing any data.
Okay, I think we have to bring the meeting to a close. Is there anybody else that absolutely has to ask another question? I think we're all set. Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hear you. Good. We really appreciate your time and your effort, and thank you.
Sure, and thank you for having me out. And I want to say that what we just did was scratching the surface of what we can do and access with the Health app and with HealthKit. So that you can go diving really deep into this. You can spend days going through all the different parts of the Health app, and you'll be amazed at the things that you can find tucked away in there.
Okay, Jeff, thank you.
Thank you.